Hello, and a very warm welcome to SportsLumo's 50 Greatest Olympic Moments for India. I am Siddharth Viswanathan, Editor-in-Chief of SportsLumo.com, and in this special episode, Nationalism, Patriotism, and the ultimate revenge is the motto. 1948 London Olympics was a new experience for a lot of nations. It was no different for India. A year before, they had gotten independence from the British. But it came at a terrible cost. The effects of the partition in Punjab and Bengal were bloody. Indian society was broken, polarized, communalized. Amidst all the ashes and the ruins of partition, the India hockey team looked to get their dominance back on track. 1928, 1932 and 1936 had seen the wizardry of Dhyan Chand blow opponents away. World War II resulted in the Olympics not being held in 1940 and 1944. But come 1948 in London, nations would once again participate in this epic saga. The story in this episode is that India, through hockey, finally asserted their nationalism, and they showed the world that they could compete on their own terms. And after independence, they would be the team who redefined dominance in hockey. After independence, there was a little bit of enthusiasm and as well as a new hope. The team had some very good stars. Keshav Singh, Leslie Claudius, Balbir Singh Sr, Ranganath Francis, and many more. When the team decided to head out for the London Olympics in 1948, the Tata Empire made a very novel gesture. Instead of taking the ship, Naval Tata decided, I'll send you by plane. So thanks to the Tatas, the entire India hockey team reached London and they got plenty of time to acclimatize. But there would also be a little bit of regionalism at play at that time. Remember folks, this was still 1948, 1 year after partition. There were 8 players from Punjab. There were demands that some players from the Punjab region were dropped. Curiously, they dropped Balbir Singh Sr. But before the trip to London, Leslie Claudius and other senior players intervened and said Balbir Singh Sr had to be there in the team. So the selection committee relented and Balbir Singh Sr went. India were placed in a relatively easy group and they sailed through the league stages and even in the knockouts. But in the league matches as well, one name was conspicuously upset. He was absent from the team. He was not picked in the playing 11. That guy was Balbir Singh Sr. The final was a match that had all the settings of Providence. It was Great Britain versus India in the final. It was dubbed the most important match in the history of Indian sport. A new nation trying to humiliate their former colonial masters in their own backyard. Redemption and revenge would not get much bigger and sweeter than this, folks. But before the match, there were 3 basic factors that were underlying the theme to the final. One, heavy rain had made the outfield sodden and heavy. So playmaking was not going to be easy. India liked to play freestyle and they would like to move around very nicely, but the wet weather would restrict them. That was one factor. The second factor was that England now had no place to escape. Great Britain had absolutely no place to escape in their own ground. Because 20 years earlier, when India had toured the Galveston Festival as part of the warm-up for the 1928 Olympics, they had humiliated the British team at that time. For fear of humiliation, the British hockey contingent withdrew from the 1928 Olympics. 20 years later, there would be no place to hide. The third, but the most important factor, was the continued absence of Balbir Singh Sr. Remarkably, before the match, there were a group of students who protested outside the house of the Indian High Commission at that time in London. They demanded Balbir Singh play that match, because had he not, India would have been in deep trouble. After the Indian High Commission put pressure on the team management and all through backdoor channels, for the final, Balbir Singh Sr was included. The match turned out to be a classic, folks. Balbir Singh Sr was among the goal scorers. India got the better of Great Britain 4-0. It was a story which redefined redemption. India, after being under 300 years under the British yoke, had beaten them hard where it hurt most. In front of their home crowd, in front of everyone, the Indian team had humiliated the British. When the tricolour was being raised in London, it was a sight which remained etched even now. Such is the inspiration of the story that even a Bollywood film called Gold, starring Akshay Kumar, was made a couple of years back. The mission for becoming the first gold medal after independence, the struggles that the team underwent, are simply legendary, folks. The 1948 gold medal was our first after independence. And we at SportsLumo truly cherish all the achievements that the Indian hockey team made at that time. And we thank them for giving us such a great identity in sport, which has again replicated itself in the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. Thank you so much, folks, for joining us for this special episode of 50 Greatest Olympic Moments for India. Hockey will continue to remain our heartbeat as long as the nation remains. Press the subscribe button, tap the bell icon, like, comment and share, folks, and spread the word about SportsLumo's 50 Greatest Olympic Moments for India. In the upcoming episode, team efforts are now all gone. It's now focused on individual brilliance. In the next episode, the focus will be on a pathbreaker who gave one man the license to dream for gold, thanks to his exploits in an earlier Olympics. Stay tuned for that episode, folks. Thank you. Bye-bye. Stay safe.